some people tend to get really funny about talking about emotions and talking about emotions they've experienced or that they are experiencing. And when you look at a culture that only a few generations back, especially for men, glorified not talking about emotions and not connecting with your emotions or acknowledging them or sharing them or coming to work with them, it makes sense. It makes sense why people may not be used to it, or they may not know how to, especially if they haven't had someone to show them how to, or if that someone was just trying their best but they only knew so much. But we really, in my opinion, really need to normalize talking about emotions and stop pretending that life doesn't happen to us, especially when we're at work. There is the very ancient and archaic mentality and approach of leave your problems at the door, which in essence I understand the point of, if you turn up to work, you're there to work, and absolutely, and all of that, but it misses a really vital factor in how these acknowledgements and awarenesses can contribute to a sense of connectiveness within the team. And what really happens is when we go to work, for example, and we pretend like that there's no problem, nothing like that, it still shows up in our performance in some way. Sometimes that's in a positive way, a very positive performance way of we are able to focus and get the work done and get even more work done. But the reality is most of the time it will impact in some kind of negative way. So if you've got something going on at home, for example, you've just gone through a breakup or something else stressful is happening, by ignoring it when you get to work and not letting at least someone in on that to explain, like, hey, just so you know, I've got this going on, but, just sharing, what happens then is that it can impact the performance of that person. It can impact their ability to converse properly in meetings and in conversations and be productive in that way. They may be quicker to anger or have way less patience. They may not have the mental energy to contribute to ideas or anything like that. They may have certain needs in order for them to show up and work. And when Gary Vaynerchuk, I really like his approach because he really practices that care and that empathy and the acknowledgement and acceptance of the fact that we are humans, and if we show up to work and we've got something going on personally that will impact us, but it's not up to management or other colleagues to make it harder for them and to expect them to rise to a level in the same exact way as they do every other day as if nothing was going on. But it is up to us to create an environment that takes that into account, yes, that shows care, because when we show care for each other, especially in the workplace, and when we show that we have systems set up and in place to help enable that person to still show up to work and be a productive member of that workforce, that creates goodwill, that creates more of a positive culture, it creates more productivity and efficiency, because that person feels taken care of, so they will still be able to show up as best they can. And that what happens is that clearer communication around, hey boss, this is going on for me, I'm feeling really this way about it, I'm really struggling with it, and I still want to show up for work because maybe I don't have any sick leave left, or maybe I need it as a distraction, but I'm going to need some understanding around how I can show up differently and still get the work done. So when we talk about allowing employees to show up in ways to help them get the work done, it's often around offer flexible or remote working arrangements and things like that, which is all really, really good. But there is still the roadblock and the challenge that happens when things are set up in a certain way, and for a temporary period of time, someone might need something different. There are organizations and workplaces I know of that are very, very empathetic to that and very, very caring in how they allow for that. But in general, it can, in many others, it can still be that roadblock of not allowing that even temporary shift in circumstances or situation, and instead seeing it as a problem and giving them either you go on leave at your own cost or whatever it is, or you have to show up in the exact same way. And that creates a culture of toxicity, to find a word that encompasses all of it creates. But it also creates a culture of not opening up and not sharing what's going on and not explaining why things may be a little different in how you show up or how they show up. And it creates that culture of perfectionism as well. So if I show up to work, I have to be perfect. I can't let them know anything's going on, because then my work ability, my work ethic will be questioned if I let anyone in and let them know. And that doesn't help individuals or the business or the team thrive and move forward. It actually creates a block in that. So not only does that impact the individual, but it also impacts the overall goal of the company or the organization or the team. There's a quote from Brené Brown that I'm going to share, and I love Brené's work because her work is all in research based. So there's no speculation as such. It's everything she shares is research based. So the quote goes, "Understanding the difference between healthy striving and perfectionism is critical to laying down the shield and picking up your life. Research shows that perfectionism hampers success. In fact, it's often the path to depression, anxiety, addiction, and life paralysis." So while she writes that in a personal sense, my point here is that personal sense relates directly to how people show up in the workplace. And that perfectionism in the workplace means that healthy striving forward in the workplace is limited and is kind of kneecapped. And that just doesn't help anyone, and it doesn't help the business itself. And the healthier the culture and the healthier the striving forward is, rather than trying to be this emotionless robot, the healthier the business will be performing, or the team will be performing in the end anyway.